Happy Peeps, Suzanna here today for Elle Studio to share with you this project that I've created using the new May exclusive kit. It is released today, and if you shop today, it is sold at a discounted price, and it'll return to its regular price tomorrow. So I am using the kit. I have these selections of cards that I have chosen that incorporate that sort of pinky color, pinky red, and the yellow. And then I also have, you can see in the center there, it says The Good Life. I have used the May digital cut file, and I have cut that out of a piece of pattern paper that is from the Beautiful Day 6x6 paper stack. And that paper stack is on sale today as well. So that is the Good Life stamp set. That is the stamp set that is released this month. Every month, Elle Studio releases well, most months, a new stamp set, and I want to use that and incorporate that into the layout. So those pieces of 6x6 paper are again from the Beautiful Day 6x6 paper stack, and I am going with that color scheme of the yellow and that watermelony sort of pink color, and I've incorporated that wood veneer into the layout as well because it matches my skin tone, and so it is another way of incorporating just a hint of a different color. I want to get a little bit more black into the layout as well because my dress, although it's dark purple, it needs that weight to balance out the photos. So you saw that yellow and white striped pattern paper that I had. I really wanted to use that as a border, but at this point in the design process, I decide to eliminate that. I will actually off camera go back and add that as a very thin border to the right hand side, and you can see that in the finished project. So the other goodies that I have pulled from this month's add-ons are these hand-drawn acrylic hearts. They are awesome. I'm going to need another set of these. I will struggle through this layout as to where I am going to put these. Again, I have chosen the yellows and that reddy pinky color that coordinate with the colors that I'm using in this spread. And I like to, when I use things like this, I like to use them in a trio, and I like them to create a visual triangle throughout the page, but I kind of struggle with that. If you follow my work at all, you will know that lining things up can be an issue. So I have brought out the trusty old, not so trusty old T-square, and the problem with this particular T-square is it's flimsy and it shifts. And so I'm trying to use some Thermoweb purple tape to tape it down to keep everything lined up. And you will, I start off doing pretty well, but things go awry here. So I have this yellow piece of 6x6 pattern paper that I have cut down to 3x4 to match the card sizes. And I want to use that new stamp set, and I'm going to use the stamp that says Happy Moments Documented. But I like that white window, like is in the card in the top right that says summed up in one word. And so I am going to, you see I've stamped that on white to create the white window that I'm going to use. So that is going to be my mask, so that I can stamp it and get just the words that I want on the piece of white cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down to a piece, just temporarily to a piece of the white cardstock, so that I can get the words that I want, or the part that it's actually the bottom part of the rectangle and the bottom part of the word documented, so that I can then cut that out and put it on the page. So I'm going to stamp it on the card first, or the piece of pattern paper as the case may be, and then my idea was there to glue that down. Only I didn't like the way that it stamped out the first time. It wasn't crisp, so I am going to go ahead and stamp it again on white and then just cut it out so that it fits into that white spot. And so I have a white journaling spot in the stamped image that's on the yellow. And actually, I am going to just end up using a date stamp and date stamp into that in a pinky color. And again, I do that off camera because this does end up being a rather long video. I do a fair amount of shuffling. One would think that when one was working with a grid layout that it would come together pretty quickly. But yeah, no. Each of these little squares rectangles I find needs filling, and some of it is easy to fill and some of it not so much. So here I am, I'm going to try and move this T-square to line up that inner column there, and you'll see in a second I'm going to toss it aside, maybe not here, but later on. For some reason, things didn't line up, and I do a much better job of being able to line things up on my own than I do using this ridiculous T-square. See, that yellow is not lined up, and so despite the fact that it was, see there, tossed it aside, it literally went flying across the room. So I'm going to go ahead and use my own judgment and adhere these cards down, but I do know that I want to do some more stamping, and before I do that stamping, I want to make sure that I finish stamping the cards before I adhere them down. So this card that comes in the May kit, it just has that yellow strip at the top there, and I know I want to incorporate some black into it, so I am going to get the currently stamp, and I am going to stamp that in black just below the yellow. And again, to tie in all of the colors of this layout, I will use one of the epoxy stickers that comes in the Everyday Goodness epoxy stickers, and I will incorporate that into the layout. I don't do it just here, but it will be something that I do. So also with each kit each month are some die cuts, and that one says "So Excited," and that will stay there, but there's going to be some shifting that happens in this layout, and I will explain that as I get to it. So there's those 3 epoxy hearts, and I like the way that creates a visual triangle there. However, it's going to end up being shifted, and it doesn't quite create the visual triangle, but I do have the trio of things in there. So these are the epoxy stickers. There's some great phrases on them, and they really are just everyday goodness phrases. This particular sort of ready one says, "Love this," and I am going to stick it down there because I like the contrast that that provides on the dress, but I will move it. These photos are of me in a dress on Easter Sunday that I have not worn in at least 16, maybe even 17 years. And so what I don't say in this layout is it's kind of, there isn't really a title to the layout. I'm going with the title of the layout being The Good Life, but what it is that not only was it a beautiful day because it was Easter Sunday, but it is also the season that I live in, which is what the phrase in that bottom heart card says. But this is a huge goal for me. I have lost, I want to say 20 to 25 pounds, and it was absolutely amazing. It was a surprise, actually, to fit into this dress that I haven't worn, but held on to for such a long time. And so things are starting to look up, and this was just huge for me, and so that is what this layout is about, is goals being met, weight loss goals, and not just losing weight, but just feeling better about myself in many ways. So what I did there was I removed the epoxy sticker, and I really liked that die cut that is from the May kit as well, and it just says favorite snapshot. So it did a good job of covering the adhesive from the epoxy sticker, but it also pulled it. What I like about the way that this is placed, and it's placed slightly down into that rectangle below, is that it breaks up the linearness of the rectangles that are there while incorporating the same colors that I'm using in the layout. So a small detail is I put one of the little puffy hearts from another kit into that little sunrise there. It's just a small detail. I had originally thought that I was going to put The Good Life in the center, but now I have that white rectangle. I keep wanting to call it a square. I apologize. That white rectangle in the center. So I want to fill it, and I feel like that heart is just kind of minuscule, and so I'm going to play around with how that is going to end up being filled in. I am using my ThermoWeb liquid adhesive to adhere these epoxy hearts down. I love this Ultra Bond. It literally bonds ultra well. And so I have these stamps from Noteworthy, and you've seen me use this grid stamp before, and it is perfect to fill in that space, but not fill in that space, if that makes any sense. So I like the white space in the square, and I like that it's still a rectangle, but it gives you the illusion of that white space there. This is a label die that also comes with the May kit, and I thought that I would use that there, but the problem is there's too much repetition and proximity, close proximity of the labels with those white spaces, so I am going to use that label. I'm just not going to use it there where I thought I was going to. So this is a very old stamp set, and it says goals. I wanted to use it because this was a huge goal met for me, and summed up in one word: goals met. And I was actually, if you saw, I had the yellow epoxy stickers, puffy stickers, I'm sorry, and I was going to use it for goals met, but the met in the yellow didn't work underneath, so I just left it as goals. I love that label there. I love that it kind of pulls your eye a little bit to the side and doesn't keep it in such a rigid box. I am going to actually move that. So I referenced earlier how I used the yellow and white stripe, and I'm going to put it exactly where that label is. I'm going to actually move that label and put that on the bottom left-hand side next to the picture of me, but I will leave that smile epoxy sticker there. I just like the way that each of these rectangles has something in it, something to capture your eye and create some visual interest. And there's also movement that moves throughout the page. So I'm just testing out this stamp. It's actually the ink pad that I want to stamp. This is a Hero Arts stamps, and sorry, it's a variegated, so it has yellow, orange, and then that red. And I like the way that it incorporates all three of the colors, or a transition of the colors that I'm using. So I decided that to fill that, to give it some visual interest, and also to incorporate some of the black for that weight that counterbalances those two photos of myself, I am going to use these awesome large Jane alphas. I absolutely love them. So I'm going to use the ones with the dots in them for my for the innard of the S, and then I'm going to use black, which again gives a little bit of weight to counterbalance things, as the outline. And then I'm going to use the die, and you'll see me in a second run my S with the die to cut out that S shape. I could fussy cut it, but these dies are just awesome, and I have all of the alphas and absolutely love them. I do a lot of title work with these, and they work fantastically. They are well worth the money and the investment to me. So S for Suzanna with the heart there, only I have that large acrylic heart, and I'm going to downgrade that to a smaller one. And again, I'm going to use that ThermoWeb acrylic to adhere that down. So that is a big moment in my life. Have you had any big moments in your life that you've scrapped lately? I'd love to see if you do. Be sure to go over to Elle's Studio. I'll leave the affiliate link down below in the description box, and check out all of the new product. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for stopping in today. Hope to see you again soon. Take care.